So hello everyone, welcome here to round number 1 of the 2015B NASA RallyCross Challenge season here in Croft in the United Kingdom. As it's Josh Mertz and Dylan Livingood bringing you the call for the Automotive Sports Network today, as we are glad to bring you the 10th season of competition here on the Automotive Sports Network. As we have an abundance of storylines coming into today's race. The format for NASA Rallycross has been revamped considerably. We'll talk about that in a moment. The track itself, you saw, it's been repaved. Several features have been added. In the Constructors' Championship, we are going to have 6 teams going after this championship after having 2 or 3 for the past 5 seasons. And a big storyline today, a question for all of us. Will Aftershock win on debut with Josh Mertz and Dylan Livingood? The rest of the grid is wondering about the Subaru team's pace, and they don't even know where they will place.
Yeah, brand new team for both of them. They took the best guys from Revolution and MRT and threw them together, and they're trying to see what they could do with money out of their own pockets that they've earned over the past 9 seasons.
As like we said, the format, as we will jump right into that here, as you used to have the heats, the LCQ, and the final, it's no more. We have a 14-car field today. 2 cars will be provisionals. That's the Area 52 team, so that will be giving us a 14-car field. 16 will score points. Round 1 is for seeding. It has not changed from the past several seasons. Everyone gets 1 flying lap to determine their heat grid position. That seeding round position will determine your grid spot for the quarterfinal and semifinal. Basically the quarterfinal, so like the old heats, but the winner now advances to the final and gets 2 bonus points. Others will move to the semifinal. The quarterfinals, there will be 3 of them today. The semifinal will split the field into 2 equal races. The winner of that will go to the final and get a bonus point. Other drivers go to the LCQ. The top 3, as this will be an 8-car final, the top 3 will advance. The rest will be awarded points. And everyone in the paddock earlier, after drivers' meetings, said, is this format going to work? Because NASA Rallycross has ran that same format for 9 seasons. Everyone wasn't sure about it. I think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and Mertz, let me tell you about how tough this makes the competition now. We'll take a look at the first heat here after seeding's done, but it takes the 2 fastest drivers, and now instead of having 2 spots from the go into to make it into the final, it only gives them 1. So when you put the 2 fastest cars on track together, it makes for a hell of a show.
As we are getting ready, in fact, for seeding, and I don't know if it's just for today's race or if it will be for the rest of the season. Now practice results have been inverted to determine the order for seeding. As now getting ready here. Here is the field on track getting ready for seeding. And there's the 4-time defending champion Josh Mertz, and now for Aftershock Motorsports. As Revolution and MRT still exist, but they've been scrapping for drivers, and I don't know, honestly, who will win this championship in the constructors' ranks, at least.
Yeah, it really is a crapshoot. I mean, we have a bunch of really strong drivers racing for constructor teams here, but we've got the powerhouse between Livingood and Mertz, and then Tanner Smith and Brandon Lambert, always a powerful combo there.
As we should have, I should have had the graphics team put up a team swap graphic. Brandon Lambert is back. I believe he ran 1 race last season for Revolution Junior. He has moved back to LMT. Tanner Smith, after that team, or the season last year was supposed to go perfect for Tanner Smith. You figure he was the fastest driver at the end of 2014B. He joined Revolution Racing. Everyone thought he would have challenged for the championship, but inconsistencies at the beginning of the championship allowed Mertz to pull away, so he has now defected from Revolution back to LMT. For Revolution Racing, we will have Dylan Smith, who returns after leaving Subaru, and Chris Wetz, but Wetz will be unable to participate. I'm hearing in the paddock something has gone wrong on that Mitsubishi, so there will be only 1 Revolution car running. Brandon Nicholson moves to Dunlop-Pratt Incorporated, and Dunlop-Pratt himself is not even on at the circuit, so I don't know what the problem is there. As Doug Denice pulls away for his seeding lap in car number 10, and then Area 52, I don't think they'll run the full season. Cody Erdman and newcomer Kyle Vergado will run for that team. And MRT has, for this race, Tim Johnston and Tristan Hagenstein nominated for points, as Tristan has returned for a one-off drive in car number 27.
Yeah, and it's really good to see a lot of talent returning back to the series. We've had a lot of drivers come, and we've lost a lot of drivers, and today's almost like a family reunion for a lot of people.
As you see here on the short course, now there's a big jump to end your short course lap as Doug DeNice, first car in seating, a 37.892 for the American, as DeNice has always ran a partial season. And here's Chad Mikos. I believe he ran in Canada last season, and he's back in car 25.
Yeah, this definitely isn't Chad's strong suit, rallycross racing, but he said he'd give it another shot, see what he can get out of today's race, considering it's a different format.
42.813, I believe. There were the two cars as we are waiting for, unless timing and scoring isn't playing nice.
There might be some debris down on the racetrack there, Mertz.
There goes Tim Johnston in car number 38, one of the newcomers to MRT. He ran last season in Belgenswaard. He was not really paid attention to. He was battling with several privateers. It was his first race, along with a few others. But Mertz has given faith in the American. As Johnston's on track, so is Vincent Giacalone in car number 5, one of the newcomers. As Johnston takes the off-road course, that will disallow his lap.
Yeah, I think just showing rookie a rookie mistake there on the 38. Have to run the short course. As
his teammate now on track, Steve Rada in car number 199. Remember, he shocked the paddock in the proving grounds as he's around in turn 1. He made the final in the South proving grounds as Giacalone's off the track. Not a good showing for these newcomers so far.
Yeah, Rada's definitely surprising people in the paddock, but it's not for a good reason here. Something seems to be off in the handling with that car.
37.239 for Giacalone will put him first quickest so far. Remember, these laps set the grid for the quarter and semifinal, well, the driver's grid spots, as Rada crosses the line. 42.562 for the American. And now on track will be Brandon Nicholson in the new Mitsubishi Lancer for Dunlop Pratt Incorporated.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a second to talk about this car right here. Awesome throwback scheme. Definitely one to look out for. I think, based on what I've seen in practice here, he's definitely going to have a lot better run than he has been with the new switch in teams. So definitely a good fit for Nicholson.
As Mark Sabetka on track as well, and Tristan Hagenstein. So the Australian and the Dutchman returning to the NASA Rallycross Challenge. Let's see what they can do. Hagenstein's off track in car 27 and into the sand. Nicholson finishing his lap 36.564. Sabetka will come around, as it may be new pavement, but they did not smooth out these bumps here at Croft. Everyone's complaining about it. 35.802 for Sabetka. And it looks like Hagenstein spun out again, and he is very mad in car 27.
Yeah, from what I've heard is the drastic climate change here in England causes the track surface to warp just a little bit, and it really keeps it hard. That's why we're having to repave this circuit after only 9 seasons here.
As Tristan completes his lap 50.576, you know he by the regulations you're supposed to finish your lap, but you can tell he did not care about that lap. Brandon Lambert, your inaugural champion, has returned in his LMT Volkswagens, and he will go into turn 1 as released from the gate will be Dylan Livingood in car number 51, one of the 4-time champions. And when Livingood gets to turn 1, his teammate will be released.
Yeah, and this is definitely the first test for Aftershock Motorsports. The first time we're actually in competition, and a chance to get these cars warmed up for the rest of the race. Be interesting to see if these guys can pull off a fast lap.
Lambert, 34.681. Livingood entering turn 1. And I want to mention here, Mertz, in practice, I was watching him, he has been slow. I don't know if it's the track or the car change, but it seems like something has gone wrong. 33.778 for Livingood, fastest by 9/10 of a second. Can his teammate, who I mentioned is having issues with the Subaru, can he the seeding round master, take anything to his teammate at the line. What will it be? 34-146. Not even close to his teammate.
Yeah, Living Good said before this race he really likes the changes that were made, and this track surface really benefits his driving style, which is really on the edge.
As Mertz, who has, I believe, won 3 or 4 times here in Great Britain, not happy with the pace of his car, as Tanner Smith and Dylan Smith, the final 2 cars in seeding, have been released.
No relation, by the way.
Yeah, no relation, I should have mentioned. As Tanner rounds the final corner over the jump in car number 13. I want to apologize for a few production errors here. We're a little bit rusty here at ASN, so if anything happens, we are not intending on screwing up the viewing experience for you guys. 34.394 for Tanner, 0.2 off of Mertz. What can Dylan do? 34.385. Pole position tentatively for Dylan Livingood.
And that's exactly where he likes to be. Living Good, not the best qualifier. Top of the charts here, like he said, he's got a really fast machine.
So 33.778 for the 4-time champion. He gets a seeding win over his teammate, 34.146. Dylan Smith, Tanner Smith, Lambert, Sabetka, Nicholson, Giacalone, Denice, and Rada. The top 5 are within 0.9 of a second, which normally would seem like a huge gap, but here, honestly, it really isn't that big of a gap.
This track really is honestly all about how hard you drive the track, and I know I say this about a lot of tracks, but it's Croft especially. It's all about how hard you drive the track and how precise you are, because every single lap you're going to do something different.
As I believe we went over it earlier, but let's go over it again. With the 14 cars, technically 13, as I mentioned, Wet's having an issue. I'm unsure of what's wrong with the Mitsubishi. Round 1 is completed, and the positions that they earned will be used to set their grid spots for the quarterfinal and semifinal heats. The LCQ is a randomized process, and the final uses the winners and the runners-up of the races to set the grid, so we'll show you that later on. The quarterfinal heats, remember, only the winner now transfers, and they get 2 bonus points. The others move to the semifinal as we get ready for quarterfinal number 1, and I'll tell you, it's going to be really difficult getting used to this new format.
Yeah, and like I said, it's putting our 2 fastest drivers on track right now, which is Josh Mertz and Dylan Livingood. It's putting them head-to-head with only 1 car in between them on the start here. And we know that both of these drivers are real hungry into turn 1 and hungry until the very end, so it'll be interesting to see who can get that top spot.
As here is the grid for quarterfinal number 1. It's Livingood. Wetz' spot is empty. Then it's Mertz and Tim Johnston. So it's going to be a battle between the teammates to see who will win this race. Getting ready to go. Starters orders. It's lights out, and away we go. And off the line, it's going to be Livingood getting the jump in car number 51.
Yeah, no surprise there. Livingood always good on starts. Just trying to pull away from his teammate. He knows he's back there.
Turn number 1, fairly clean between the teammates. Johnston having issues getting used to the Subaru. As off-road goes Livingood, to the chicane goes Mertz. I believe he might be pitting in car number 1. He does, so we'll see the first action here. I believe Mertz has taken his pit crew from MRT to Aftershock, so let's see what car number 1 can do. Through the off-road section, you'll see the new merge here. That looks much better than previously, as it was.
Yeah, it's not such a blind merge anymore. I mean, it still is, but definitely gives a lot more working room when there's 2 cars going on those 2 separate courses.
As Livingood now has to get the delta as Mertz has exited the pit lane in car number 1. Car number 51 pulling away as these 2 teammates are going to fight to the death for these 2 points, as they will go in the record books as the first ever quarterfinal race winner. So now Livingood's Revolution turned Aftershock crew will go to work on car number 51.
Yeah, and these pit stops are not Livingood's strong suit. He's not used to pitting. Well, no one's used to pitting in this series, other than people who run other series. But Living Good, one of those drivers who doesn't really get out that often, doesn't really stray from RallyCross, and he's not that good at pit stops. So interesting to see if he can get the Delta. Got the tires dropped.
As Johnston leads at the end of lap 2, the teammates are what we are focusing on as Mertz is ahead. So
Yeah,
into
not only
turn
did
1,
Mertz catch up, he also gapped him by, looks like about a second.
as it's gone through the paddock, and Mertz knows this himself. The drivers tell him, you don't know how to race, but you sure know how to qualify. And everyone says that Croft is more of a qualifying type track as Living Good goes to the short course. So let's see what this will do to the running order.
And it really is, because these two drivers have not been around each other except for the first corner, so...
As the final lap in Croft for Living Good, Mertz is in second. Mertz has his short course lap. I believe Living Good has not taken his Gymkhana, so unless Living Good can master this Gymkhana lap, I think Mertz has it.
Yeah, Mertz is following pretty close. That gap closed up in turn 1. It's going to be close. Over the jump goes Living Good.
To the jump goes car number 51. To the short course goes car number 1. He likes to make records for himself in the record book. Write it down. First winner of quarterfinal 1 is Mertz in car number 1. To the semi goes Living Good. And third spot will be Tim Johnston in car number 38, joining Living Good.
And I'm hearing on the radio that Living Good's pretty upset about that. He really doesn't want to have to go through another race to try to secure himself into the final. Because you got to remember, this LCQ is going to have 9 cars in it. That's going to be insanity trying to get into the main event if you don't make it in these first 2 rounds.
As we're getting ready here for quarterfinal 2. As again here, folks, sorry for the choppiness of the feed here. Our button box is not working to change our graphics, so we have to do it manually, and it does not play nice. So once again, sorry about that. We'll hopefully get it fixed here soon, or if it cannot be fixed during the broadcast, we will get it fixed before Valgensward in 2 weeks' time. As quarterfinal number 2, there is the grid. It'll be Dylan Smith in car 22, Tristan Hagenstein, Tanner Smith, Chad Mikos, and on the back row, I believe, Brandon Lambert.
Yeah, and feel free to take a deduction out of my paycheck for what you need to fix that button box there, Mertz.
As this is going to be an interesting one. We've got 3 race winners, a guy that came close, and a newcomer. Getting ready to go for quarterfinal number 2, and it's lights out, and away we go. And off the line, who gets the hole shot at the start-finish line? It's too close to call, but it's Dylan Smith on the inside, Hagenstein, Tanner Smith, and Mikos. 4 wide to turn 1. Smith backs out. It's Hagenstein off the track, so it looks like Dylan Smith. No! Tanner takes the incentive. They're side by side going into the split.
Yeah, these cars glued together right now until they split apart and they take the different courses here.
To the pit lane goes the LMT Volkswagen teammates, along with the sole MRT car Hagenstein. Looks like Dylan Smith and Mikos go to the off-road section. So let's see here what the pit crews can do.
Yeah, and Mikos is really at a disadvantage here because it's really hard to see behind the car, or in front of the car in front of you if you're the second car in line going through that off-road section, just because of the sheer dust that gets kicked up.
As lap number 2 begins, these 3 cars have now taken their pit lane. It's Tanner, Lambert, and Tristan. I believe Tristan was leading Lambert into the pit lane, if I'm not mistaken. Mikos is off in turn 1, and ignore that statement. It was the Volkswagens and the MRT car, so no position swap. Smith has taken it to the pit lane. Off-road goes Smith Tanner Smith and Lambert and Hagenstein, so they are following the same strategy.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I said doesn't work, because now we have 2 drivers behind. That makes it really tough for, who is that? Tristan Hagenstein in the back there to be able to see anything. And there's a fine line you can run through the off-road section, and when you can't see it, it's really hard to hit your marks.
So lap number 3 begins. Mikos leads, but he has not taken it to the pit lane. So Tanner Smith cycling. The battle's going to be between him and Dylan Smith. I think that's what the battle's going to be. Off the track he goes in car 13.
That's okay, because the last lap, Dylan Smith did the exact same thing that Tanner did.
To the Gymkhana section goes Lambert and Hagenstein. Short course goes Tanner Smith. And Dylan will follow Tanner. To the pit lane is Maiko's. So this will be interesting, as over the jump to start the white flag is Tanner Smith in car 13.
Yeah, and this is where Calamity comes into play here. No one knows what's going on right now. No one knows who's going to win. All they're focused on is the checkered flag right now.
As Dylan in second. If this was last season, we'd say he's in the transfer spot. He's not in a transfer spot, as only the winner goes through in the quarterfinals. It's Tanner who leads. He wants the 2 bonus points to start this season off right. Skyward as Dylan Smith is over in car 22! Flipping over the wall is Dylan Smith in the Revolution Mitsubishi. It's going to be Tanner Smith winning quarterfinal 2, followed by Lambert and Hagenstein. And it looks like Maiko's will finish 4th because Dylan Smith is propped up on the wall.
Maiko's actually went up and over the same exact way that Dylan did.
As let's take a look here, give us one moment, and what just happened between Dylan Smith and even Maiko's, you could say. As you said, I missed it, but they both flipped over the wall. As looks like Dylan here, he hit the cone, and I don't think he hit the brakes because it tossed him over. And then let's see what Maiko's does. He goes in the Gymkhana, and he does the exact same thing. But he nearly hit the pit wall, and that would have been really bad for car 25.
Yeah, you just get a little bit too much air underneath the car, and it sets you down on that rear bumper. When that rear bumper digs in, then you're up and over. There's no saving the car from there.
As quarterfinal number 3. Getting on track here as we have another 5 cars. As this, I don't really know who to say would win this race, as here is the grid. It's Sabetka, Rada, then Nicholson, Giacalone, and Doug DeNice.
Yeah, and one thing I see right now is a lot of inexperience in this heat.
Getting ready for the start. The field is off, and away we go. And off the line, it's going to be at the line. Rada and Sabetka first 2 into turn 1.
Now the 2 cars behind the 2 leaders playing it patient here, seeing how turn 1 sorts out. And both the leaders run wide.
Off the track went Rada and Giacalone. This is going to put Sabetka through to the lead. Off-road goes Nicholson. And Rada hits the tire barrier. Giacalone does as well. I don't believe that's a red flag, as it's only 2 cars. Sabetka around in the pit lane, and I do believe now that's a red flag being called.
Yeah, too much going on at once here. That's half the field wrecking before the first lap was completed. All 3 were separate incidents. I guess you could say the 5 was trying to avoid Rada after he hit the wall, but I believe this will be a race restart.
And a new regulation. You are not allowed to pit if a red flag is called. We've had that in the past. It gives an unfair advantage, as the team would strap on a new pair of boots and you'd be faster than everybody else. The only instances are if you have a blown tire or if you are overheating, you can pit and the crew can cool the car off. So we're back at the grid. It's Sabetka, Rada, Nicholson, Giacalone, and DeNice. As fitting, you said, the inexperience gives us the first red flag of the season.
Yeah, very interesting here. Actually, the driver with the most experience here is Nicholson. Let's look out for him to be a surprise contender in this.
The 2014A Privateer champion, starting 3rd. It's lights out, and away we go. And off the line, it's going to be Rada by a hair over Sabetka, a mirror image of the restart. Into turn 1. Does anyone go off the track? Rada does, Giacalone does. So are we watching the same race as Sabetka leads going into the split?
Yeah, Nicholson wanting to take the fight to Rada. He can't do it. Rada shuts the door on him again.
Off the track goes Rada in car number 199. Everyone, the drivers were told in the drivers' meeting, respect the paint lines. Giacalone misses the pit lane and hits the wall.
Yeah, so now we see 4 drivers here trying to complete pit stops. The 10 of Doug DeNice is just at a weird angle here. Not sure how his pit stop's going to be.
As I don't believe he hearing in my ear, the crew only changed 2 tires as they couldn't get the other 2 over the wall, and it looks like he did not sit and wait, so I don't believe he will be classified.
Yeah, if your team does struggle because of the way the pit lane is, then you do have to sit in your stall and simulate a 4-tire pit stop nonetheless, and Doug did not do that. I believe that's going to disqualify him.
Hearing from race control, number 10 disqualified, as it looks like Nicholson in the pit lane now. Denice is thrown out, so we are going to pretty much ignore his existence, as rude as that sounds. But I believe it was said in the driver's meeting, you do have to sit and wait if your crew has difficulties, and Denice did not. So lap number 2 being completed now. Nicholson has exited the pit lane, so I think this battle is going to be between Sabetka, Rada, and Nicholson.
Yeah, and this battle's been heated up all through the off-road section. Rada smashes the wall coming out of the off-road section. That's going to give Mark quite a bit of time over him. But here's Nicholson. Look at Nicholson.
I am surprised. I don't know if Dunlop Pratt Incorporated built their own cars or if they bought some old cars from Revolution. Either way, these things are exceptionally fast, and Brandon Nicholson has his best equipment to date, I do believe. So the short
It'll be
course.
interesting to see how the courses fall here. I don't think Nicholson has enough time to catch Sabetka, but Sabetka spins.
And that might have sealed it. As I don't think Rada, I think he has his Gymkhana left. As the white flag is out, I don't believe the battle, as Sabetka spins again. So he hit the tire barrier, and this is sealing his shot at trying to win the quarterfinal.
And Rada's off the course. He got into the sand, or the gravel trap just a little bit. Nicholson's closing up that gap. Mertz, this is going to be close.
As to the Gymkhana section goes Rada. Remember, Denice has been disqualified, so the battle is between Nicholson and Rada. Into the wall went Rada in Gymkhana. Will Brandon Nicholson transfer to, I believe, his second final in his career? Over the jump, Denice finishes, but he is disqualified. Nicholson wins quarterfinal 3!
And with 2 bonus points, that's really going to help that team here in the Constructors' Championship.
As Rada second, Sabetka third. It's going to be Giacalone in fourth. And then Denice, once again repeated, due to the botched pit stop, he has been disqualified. As Giacalone finishes up, we're going to see here what unraveled for Mark Sabetka. As you mentioned, he hit the wall in Gymkhana, and then he hit the new tire chicane, which is designed to prevent drivers from colliding out of the off-road section. Do you think he possibly could have won this quarterfinal?
Oh, absolutely. He was way out in front. Nicholson would have been his closest competition. Or no, excuse me, it might have been Rada. Either way, he would have had a good shot at winning this, but I don't know if heat exhaustion overcame him or what happened, but just 2 big mistakes there made by Sabetka cost him this race.
As remember, he's one of the more inexperienced drivers. He ran a couple races a few seasons ago. I believe he ran 2 seasons ago. Looks like he hit it. Yeah, he slid the car and hit the inside wall. And we're going to continue this replay here because I believe he hit the tire chicane out of frustration. So let's slow it back down here. It's a new feature of this track. The Gymkhana exit has been widened, as you can see, to avoid people crashing into the wall, and it looks like Sabetka had issues in car 17. He tried to squeeze through the tires, but he hit them anyway. So everything not going to plan for car 17.
Yeah, and those tires on the exit really are tricky because your car wants to float out to the outside of that corner, and with tires right there, you have to dart back over to the right. And some drivers get caught up in between, and they have to try to shoot the gap in between the 2 of them.
As the field is now rolling onto the track for the first of our semifinal heats, which are brand new races here. As Living Good will be on pole due to winning seating. So let's pull up the grid here for you guys for the first of the semifinals. This is going to be the 5-car race. It's Living Good on pole. Wetz is in second. I don't know if you know what's going on with that Revolution car. He has not made it to the grid again. It's going to be Dylan Smith, Tim Johnston, and Brandon Lambert.
I'm hearing some electronics or wiring may have been damaged in shipping over here. Remember, they ship these cars over in crates, and sometimes crane operators aren't the gentlest, you could say.
As this is the first of our 2 races over in Europe, we have the traditional Croft British Grand Prix, and then we go to Valkenswaard, hopefully they can get that car fixed, because Chris Wetz and Valgensward, those two entities are intertwined. I guess you could say like a rope, but that probably sounds really cheesy.
Yeah, those darn crane operators.
So the grid getting situated for the first of the semifinals. If this was a regular race, the quarterfinals were 4 laps, semis would be 6, the final would be 8, but usual Croft, all races are 4 laps. And I believe in the offseason, Mertz has been re-added as a race control official, so he will be in control of this race. Getting ready to go. It's lights out. And away we go. And off the line, it's going to be Livingood and Dylan Smith, the former teammates, battling into turn 1.
Yeah, Livingood always good on starts. And again, we see him gap it through turn 1, just a little bit over the other Dylan.
As Dylan Smith ran one race for Revolution Racing. It was in Charlotte in 2012B, I do believe, as he follows his former teammate and Lambert to the pit lane in the Volkswagen. So
yeah, and 3 cars here again in this off-road section. Not what you want. I'm sure Dylan's having a hell of a time trying to see.
As one car I'm keeping an eye on is Tim Johnston. He's a newcomer. I don't want to be mean. I don't think he'll have any luck in the semi. But with 9 cars, he's staying out of everyone's way. 9 cars equals calamity if you stay out of your way. Maybe we're just looking into the crystal ball too early. At the end of lap 1, it was Livingood followed by Smith as they followed each other. Let's see if they will run the same strategy. I think Dylan's been mimicking the leader's strategy if he's not leading himself. So, Livingood and Smith to the pit lane. Followed by Johnston, who goes to Gymkhana, and Lambert has already pitted. He will go to Gymkhana in car 21. So I think this will put Johnston through to the lead.
Yeah, and this actually is an interesting strategy by Dylan because, like we said earlier, if you take different courses, you're really not running a race, but if you run the same courses, you're racing the person in front of you.
End of 2, Johnston leads, followed by Lambert. Lambert has been very criticizing of this track. That probably wasn't proper English, but let's just go with it. Like I said, we're rusty. His criticism, there we go, has been very high of the new edits. He's not happy with this track, and I think he's not really happy in car 21, as I think that car is ill-handling, if I notice it correctly.
Yeah, and Lambert's never really brought a good package here to Croft. I know in the first season they had issues even getting him to the track, and we know how that played out. He ended up winning the championship, but just this track hasn't been Lambert's favorites. I know a couple, a third or fourth season, I believe, he had problems with the curbs and just no matter how he sets the car up for this track, just can't get anything done.
As you notice, Dylan Smith snuck through those tire barriers. That is normally illegal, but race control has allowed it due to the fact that they would rather you squeak through the tires than smash into the wall. So no issue for Dylan Smith. But I think, I don't know what happened to Dylan, but Livingood has pulled away, and he will get a bonus point here as we completely missed the pass for the win, but he transfers through to the final, and Lambert will be the first in the LCQ.
Yeah, and again, this throws 3 cars into the LCQ for a total of 9. Let's watch out for this LCQ because we already have 2 really fast cars, Dylan Smith and Brandon Lambert, fighting for their way in.
As semifinal 2 now. I hope you can keep up as well as we're keeping up, because over in the production truck, they are yelling in my ear that this race is a disgrace for their production quality. So we want to give a shout out to them and apologize for them, as like we said, we're having issues with our button boxes here at ASN. So, semi-final number 2. This will be a 6-lap race. Same principle as earlier. The winner advances. The other 5, can you believe that? 5 cars are going to go to the LCQ from this race.
Yes, and I beg to differ on your lap count there. It's still 4 laps, not 6 laps.
As I did say 6 laps.
I think. I don't even know.
I might have been pointing out for everyone the normal format. Sabetka, Hagenstein, Giacalone, Maikos. Then it is Rada and Denice. And if I do remember, I was pointing out the normal lap counts, and I did mention every race is 4 laps here at Croft. It's the first race of the season. Everyone's rusty, so cut us some slack. Getting ready to go. Winner transfers. Other 5 to the LCQ. It's lights out, and away we go. And off the line, it's going to be Hagenstein with the hole shot at the start-finish line. Cuts across Maikos' nose, but Sabetka's there. Will he give the fight to him? No. As around as Maikos off the front bumper of Giacalone, I think that'll send car 5 to the penalty box.
Yeah, that was, I don't believe they're going to call that one a racing deal. Watch for the 5 to enter in that penalty box in turn 1, marked by the cones.
To the pit lane, Hagenstein, Sabetka, Rada, everyone except for Maikos. So let's see if MRT has some good mechanics after Mertz left.
Pit lane's going to be really busy here. We have cars entering and exiting at different times. Be interesting to see if anyone gets caught up in someone else's pit stop here.
As Maikos, the only one to not pit, will lead at the end of lap number 1, followed by Hagenstein, Sabetka, Rada, Denice, and Giacalone.
Yeah, what we like to call the delta in racing terms here would be the gap that Chad has between those who have pitted. That delta is quickly going right now.
As Hagenstein cuts the grass there, but it was to avoid Chad, and it looks like race control, like I mentioned, Livingood has returned to race control, Mertz has still been in race control, and they're both saying do not cut the grass there entering the off-road section. Track limits here at Croft have always been relaxed. If you noticed in previous seasons, it was kind of a weird transition of dirt and grass on most of the dirt sections. Now it is cut and dry, and they do not want people cutting.
Yeah, and we did take away that runoff there, and I think that's what a lot of these drivers are used to, is that giant concrete runoff on the outside of corner number 1 that we've had for the past 9 seasons isn't there anymore, so they can't run that optimum line onto the off-road course.
As Hagenstein takes to the Gymkhana jump, and it looks like he is out and away. I think the MRT crew, despite losing their number 1 pit crew, still has some of the best mechanics in the business, as he will round the final corner and take the white flag in car 27.
Yeah, this is going to be really close between Sabetka. Sabetka with a bad bounce there in the off-road section, or short course section over that new jump that they put in. Probably going to hurt his chances now of getting the win.
I know a few drivers, Dylan Livingood included. Dylan Livingood walked the track before practice. He came back to the paddock for the drivers' meeting and said the jump was crap, to replace the expletive, he said. The jump is there. It was actually an idea from Tanner Smith.
Rada up and over.
Rada flipping and turtled in car 199. Hagenstein wins semi 2.
Oh, and he's right in the way of Chad, too.
And Sabetka second. Denice will be third. Fourth is Maikos. 5th Giacalone, and 6th Rada. Let's take a look here while the field finishes up and see what happened to Rada. Numerous drivers are having issues going over the Gymkhana jump here. And car number 199 is another one to have issues here. So let's take a look at what happened to Rada. Looks like he takes the jump, and I don't think he had issues that other drivers did. He hit the fence, and up and over he went.
Yeah, that catch fence just grabs your car and rips it all around and just tears it up, and it spit him back out upside down on the racetrack. He's what we call turtled.
As I remember a few seasons ago, I think it was 2013A, so quite a few now. It's hard to believe we're on year 3 in season 10 here in NASA, but Nick DePalmo once hit it, and I believe Nick Cars did. They both hit it so hard, it flipped them over the fence into the Gymkhana, or the off-road section, excuse me, there. I remember those accidents quite vividly, and that's how bad this track can treat you if you're not having a good day.
Yeah, and the track improvements were supposed to fix a lot of these things, but obviously it's not a perfect world. Obviously, our starting gate is missing a pillar again. They repaired the other side, and the other side is now falling apart. So,
just being held up by the non-existent force of gravity there. Oh, sorry about that. We have too much fun sometimes. So, like you mentioned earlier, we're having 9 cars battle for 3 spots. I mean, I suppose
Yes,
it's a little bit better than previous seasons where two cars would battle. But I would
but look at
love
how many fast cars have a chance at not even making it at all.
getting ready for the LCQ. On pole will be Dylan Smith. Wetz must just have luck of the draw. He was randomized into second. It's Denice and Lambert. Then it's Johnston, Sabetka, Rada, Giacalone. And on the back row will be Maikos in car 25. I can't predict. Any one of these cars could get through.
Any race at Croft you can't predict, and that's what's so great about it.
As the one thing I enjoyed about the other pillar being gone is we had a nice start camera. Now you just see a giant pillar in front of the camera, and hopefully we'll fix that for next season. But anyway, getting ready for the 4-lap LCQ. Top 3 advance in this special format. Getting ready to go. Everyone revving them up. Lights are set. Long time for the lights here to go, and it's lights out, and away we go. Finally, everyone gets off the line, and at the start, it's going to be 3 wide with Dylan Smith, Doug Denice, and Lambert, who is in the LCQ.
Ooh, none of those drivers really wanted to back out there. Lambert playing it smart. Shooting to the inside. Is it going to take 2 positions here? No.
To the split. Who goes off-road? Maikos does. So does Johnston. Rada is around off of the front bumper at Denice, but it looked like that was a racing incident through the chicane. Pit lane goes Dylan Smith, Lambert, Sabetka, Rada, Giacalone, and Denice. So everyone except for the 2 off-road guys are in the pit lane.
Yeah, and these are 2 former teammates chasing each other, the 22 and the 21.
Rada hits Sabetka in the pit lane. So it looks like Sabetka, I don't know if he's just going to sit and wait on pit lane. I don't know if that will be a penalty for Steve Rada either. At the end of lap 1, Tim Johnston leads. And this is a good thing for the rookie driver, as like I mentioned, with the Calamity now in pit lane, he's out and away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, and speaking of Calamity, the 5 was parked at a really bad angle in front of the 21. 21 had to back up getting out of his pit stall. That's going to kill his time for his pit stop.
As I'm hearing over the radio, lots of profanity from car 21. Very angry at Vincent Giacalone in car number 5. Pit lane goes the 2 guys that took off-road. It's Johnston and Maikos. Dylan Smith will go off-road. Lambert to Gymkhana. Then it's Sabetka, Denice, Giacalone, and Rada. So I think Dylan Smith is going to be battling with Lambert, I think, who leads at the end of lap 2.
Yeah, and we're at the fastest part of the racetrack right now, the merge from both of those two courses. Dylan getting a pretty good run into turn 1. Lambert sideways, that's going to hurt him just a little bit. I don't think Lambert has enough delta to beat Dylan.
To the off-road section goes Lambert. Dylan Smith goes to Gymkhana, and like I mentioned, Tim Johnston is sitting in 3rd in the MRT Subaru. Sabetka 4th. They both have to take to Gymkhana, so can Tim Johnston transfer in his 2nd race?
Yeah, there's a battle heating up for 5th between Chad Maikos and Vincent Giacalone. Now they take separate courses.
White flag for Dylan Smith in the Revolution Mitsubishi, followed by Lambert. Johnston holds 3rd, so can he transfer? As this
Johnston
is a shock.
could be a dark horse here. Yeah, you're exactly right. Not sure what course Lambert has left.
As remember,
possibly the short course.
My reaction to Nicholson making it through to his first final in Irwindale a couple seasons ago, this is what happens when an underdog fights with the best of them. As Dylan Smith, over the regular course jump, he wins the LCQ. Under normal circumstances, only Lambert would transfer, but due to the new format, rookie Tim Johnston for MRT will get to his first final in NASA RallyCross, finishing 3rd. Sabetka hits the pit wall, or the tire wall there, and gets high centered. 9th place to Maikos. Looks like 10th place to Denice. 11th place to Giacalone. Sabetka has retired, so that will give him 13th place. 14th will go to Wetz, and 12th will go to Steve Rada.
Yeah, and the 38 was showing some pretty impressive pace there. I mean, it's always hard to get into the final in these races. So for someone with limited experience, being able to get in in one of his first races. That's huge.
As he ran in Valkenswaard last season, like I mentioned, he was in an off-pace Mitsubishi. He battled with, let's not mention the name, but they were both off the pace and having fun at the back of the field. And Johnston got hired by MRT, the 3-time champions, and he's showing if he's putting a good car, I think that was a good hire for Mertz.
Yeah, and really a good move career-wise for Johnston.
Although, I think that will only be a part-time thing for Car 38, but we will see here in the future. And here is the grid. On pole position for, I believe, the 4th season in succession, it's the quadruple defending champion Mertz in car number 1. Then it will be Tanner Smith in car number 13. Brandon Nicholson. Dylan Smith will be on the front row. And the back row will be Livengood, Hagenstein, Johnston, and Lambert. So the usual suspects, joined by a couple inexperienced drivers. This should be good.
No idea who's going to win here.
Getting ready to go. It's lights out, and away we go for the final into turn number 1. Who will get the jump from the helicopter? It's going to be Mertz on the inside, Smith and Smith, Tanner and Dylan. Who's going to budge around nearly as Dylan Smith? Mertz will get through to the lead. Then it's Tristan off the front bumper of Livengood around his Lambert. I think that's being called as a red flag, but it should not be. Red flag called.
Yeah, I think a little bit confused there on if that was half the field or not. Looked like Tristan just got in the back of Mertz there, and it slowed him down into the front bumper of the 51. I don't think any intentional contact between them. Although they always seem to find each other's bumpers, that's for sure.
As red flag, so the field will go back to the grid here and reset for the first red flag of the 2015 B season. And once again, for the 3rd time, again apologies for the production issues. We will get it fixed. And due to Livengood causing that wreck, I think by the regulations, he's supposed to start from the 3rd row.
Yeah, and there we see him backing up right now.
So that's the grid. As Mertz got a good start. He was in the lead. He might be rattled from this. And you know, Mertz doesn't like to have red flags when he's not involved in them. So, getting ready to go for round number 1 once again here in Croft. 8 cars, 4 laps. Who is going to win it? It's lights out, and away we go, and off the line, Mertz did not get a start, so the defending champion's not going to be a part of this into turn 1. It's going to be Tanner versus Dylan. With the sandwiching is Nicholson. Into turn 1, it's Tanner, then Dylan Smith. Hagenstein in second. Can he get by Dylan Smith, his former teammate? Who will go where at the split? It's going to be Tanner Smith taking the chicane, Dylan Smith off-road, Nicholson and Johnston off-road, Hagenstein. Lambert's around. Nicholson's engine is blown. Mertz goes to Gymkhana, so it looks like Tanner Smith will get the clean track he needs. Livengood is up to second. As you can tell, Croft is now very insane. We can't even keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, and race control's yelling at Dylan Livengood to go to the penalty box, please.
So 51 to penalty box. Not a good start to this season for car number 51. As he's rejuvenated, obviously, in the Aftershock Subaru. He planned to run part-time last season. That never materialized, and I think now, unbelievably, the battle is between Smith and Mertz, and where have we seen this before?
Yeah, we've seen this many times before. If Tanner can hold on and be consistent, which sometimes he has problems with, Tanner might win this thing. As
a specific example for you, Dylan, Tanner Smith's first ever race. Mertz spun off the front bumper of him, and they came within a car length. And Tanner Smith won that day. Off the road is Tanner Smith in car number 13, so maybe he feels the pressure. Maybe his team is telling him, yeah, you've got the champion behind you. And maybe he doesn't handle too well. But we saw Negus last season. He did not crack. As this cluster of cars for third, it's Livengood, Hagenstein, Dylan Smith, and Lambert. As these cars battling amongst themselves. Off the track is Lambert. So white flag for Tanner Smith. I know it's hard to know what to say. Mertz is in the pit lane now, and I think Tanner Smith has his pit stop left. So let's see if the MRT crew can get a faster stop than the LMT guys. Or the Aftershock crew, I should say, if I said MRT. Sorry about that. As it's Tanner Smith, Dylan Smith in second, but I think he has his Gymkhana left. So it's going to be between Tanner Smith and Mertz. And like I said, where have we seen this before? Mertz always takes his short course lap, pushing really hard in car number 1. Tanner's in the pit lane. Right side's jacked up on car number 13.
And my God, here's Tristan freaking Hagenstein getting close to Mertz here. Can he be a contender?
The jack is dropped on car number 13. Where is Mertz? There he is. Make sure I mention MRT has a 22-race podium streak, and it might continue. Tanner Smith wins in Croft. Mertz is second, and MRT's streak goes to 23. As Hagenstein finishes third, Dylan Smith fourth. Living Good is fifth. Sixth is Lambert. Seventh is Tim Johnston in car number 38. In eighth place, we were, unfortunately for him, it's a shame to hear, but Brandon Nicholson's engine blew.
Yeah, and he was having such a strong performance before that, too. Just really unfortunate what happened.
So here he is, the Norwegian, and when he wins, he's especially happy. But 3 of his 6 career wins have been defeating the champion. And if I'd be Tanner Smith, I'd be really happy with those stats. Out of 50% of his wins, he beat Mr. Rallycross, as he's now 5th all-time with his 6th win. As he celebrates, we will go through the final results here. As Tanner Smith is your victor, Mertz is second, and we didn't even notice until you pointed out Hagenstein was all by himself. He finishes third, and like I was mentioning, MRT didn't know if they wanted to keep their streak. You know how Mertz likes his stats. His team likes his stats. Or likes their stats, I should say. Sorry about that. MRT, 23 races in a row. That dates back to, I believe, Talladega 2014A, the longest streak in the series. For the re-return of Dylan Smith to Revolution Racing, he finishes 4th. Living Good disappointing after the penalty box in 5th. Lambert after the spin in 6th. Tim Johnston, very impressive. Yes, it was last of the running cars, but very impressive run to make it into the final in his 2nd career race. And Nicholson, I can't really say what he would have done, but that Mitsubishi had pace. He must have broke something on the start in car number 91. Then it's Maiko's best of the rest. Actually, he is the winning privateer, I forgot to mention. He finishes 9th, Denice 10th, 11th Giacalone, Rada, Sabetka, and then Wetz. So the Drivers' Championship. Do you like the way that looks with 22 points? Does it look better than 21?
21's a lucky number.
As the quarterfinal bonus points now gives 2. So it's Tanner Smith, 22, Josh Mertz, 19, Tristan Hagenstein, 17, but this was a one-off drive, so expect him to plummet down the standings. It's Living Good. Living Good finished 5th, but he's higher because of the semifinal win. Dylan Smith 5th, Nicholson, Lambert, Johnston, and you notice Nicholson's higher than those two. He won the quarterfinal. Then it's Maiko's and Denice, your top 10. The Constructors' Championship, 33 points for LMT, 32 for Aftershock. They did everything right except win the race. It's MRT 26 points in 3rd. Revolution has 21. Area 52 13, and Dunlop Pratt Incorporated has 11 points. And the Manufacturers' Championship, Volkswagen 22, Subaru 19, Mitsubishi 13, Ford has 4. And once again, aside from the production issues, what do you think of today's race?
I think it's foreshadowing of what's to come for the rest of the season here. I mean, Tanner off to a great start. As usual, early on in the season, Josh Mertz is not far behind. It'd be cool to see Tristan run a couple more races, because he definitely showed impressive pace there in 3rd. And then who knows how the season's going to go for the 51 and the 21.
As next week, I believe the NASA Rallycross Challenge is off as Dylan Livingood race control. I believe he is going to be helping for HVMP broadcast a race. I don't know what, and I don't know where. All I know, he is going to be broadcasting a race, so we will not have a race next week. The Dutch Rallycross Grand Prix will be in 2 weeks' time from Valgenswaard. As, like Livingood mentioned, basically, it was an interesting race, and I don't know. I just think Josh Mertz has something up his sleeve here. He was sixth in turn one, and he finishes second. So maybe someone will challenge Aftershock. They had impressive pace. Maybe LMT will jump out to a lead. We can't predict it. All we can say is who knows. And we have 2 weeks to wait for the Dutch Rallycross Grand Prix. So thank you for joining us here in the Automotive Sports Network. Hope you enjoyed today's coverage of the British Rallycross Grand Prix. For Dylan Livigood, I'm Josh Mertz. See you next week from Falconsward. But until then, so long, everyone.